We live. I want to thank everyone for jumping in as let's see people trickle in. I'm Dax, we've got James, we've got Daryl, and we're going to talk about quoting inside of HubSpot, the no zone, as many say. So James, I hope you're ready for this. Daryl, I hope you guys are ready for this.
Yeah, for sure. Really excited about this one.
Yep. So as we let folks trickle in, let's just kind of pop this over. It is Tuesday, 4/22. It's way too early for James. Probably a little decent for Daryl. But James, I appreciate you getting up early for this one.
Yeah, just put a little bit of context in that. I'm based in Sydney, so it's Wednesday morning, 5:30 a.m. here. So my voice sounds a little bit croaky. You know why?
Oh, that's right. We've got multiple hemispheres going on in this neck of the woods, but this is what we're going to be doing today, guys. So quoting and has been it's this whole thing inside of HubSpot. So I want to kind of introduce the people that are looking to try to change it, myself included. So I'm Dax Miller. I'm co-founder of Happily and the Chief Care Officer because I care too much. And we've spent months and months understanding the challenges of HubSpot and quoting natively and have built a product called Quote Happily to help solve that. And I'll take it to James.
Hey everyone, my name's James. I'm the co-founder of Portent, and I like to talk about ourselves like we're the glue between HubSpot and Google Docs. So really make it really easy to make lots of different types of documents. And this webinar, we're going to be talking about quotes specifically, but excited. Daryl.
Hey everyone,
please.
My name's Daryl, and I'm the co-founder the founder of Cogent Connective. We're a platinum HubSpot partner, and we're in the space of helping companies in distribution and manufacturing industry. We specialize in understanding ERP systems and then how the whole process from end to end in your business works. So we look at it in detail and we try and bring that synergy together. But being HubSpot partners is really the focus for the day, and being able to take that process from quote all the way through to the end of your order process.
There it is. So we always ask this question, and it's pretty obvious when any of us speak to someone that's looking to quote in HubSpot. It's like, what's breaking the sales process? Because odds are it might have been broken before you even came to HubSpot. But here's what I'm seeing. James, you can jump into seeing those compliance gaps, but I've been seeing disconnected systems. People are using this, that, and the third. We won't name any names, but you're using some type of koala bear or something, and then you might have a spiel bub or something. People are using things, right? And it's not where everybody's living. So there's the opportunity of having to learn and manage other platforms and other kind of topics and just other things that need to be managed, maintained, learned. You've got Excel spreadsheets everywhere, right? You're just really just making some sort of high price calculator to make things happen. And you have to learn that, and garbage in, garbage out. And then I forgot to add the MSA. Oh, I got to copy paste it. Oh, it's not in English anymore. Just you start to lose where the focus needs to be when you're actually quoting. And it ends up being a problem at the end of the month when all of those quotes come in and they're nothing like they should be. You've got operations and you've got distributions, Daryl. They're like, we can't deliver this. This wasn't even a part of what we do. So talk about those compliance gaps, James.
Yeah, and the main thing that the disconnected systems that leads into this is like keeping two sources of truth up to date at the same time. Like absolute nightmare, and not a job a human should be doing. And yeah, the other part that is huge is having compliant systems. So having a native approval system to make sure that the stuff that is being quoted is able to be delivered, and also that you're allowed to give maybe the discounts that that your sales team want to really go right to the minimal or maximum amount of discount available. So and then leading us into all that stuff leads us into slow execution. Messages on Slack. Did you see this? Is this ready to go? Can you just quickly approve that quote? And just time lost is just reducing the likelihood of you closing that deal. I think I read a study yesterday that said it's like every hour over 4 hours that a quote is sitting waiting to be approved, your win rates are just dropping every minute, every hour. So slow execution really is a huge pain and is going to affect your balance sheet.
Yeah, time kills all deals. Daryl, what have you been seeing in this process?
Yeah, same. I'd echo the same. I think there's a massive waste of time in the whole process with disconnected systems. Frequently, we're working with clients where, those enormous Excel spreadsheets are frequently breaking. People are complaining, and then they just resort to like simple pen and paper stuff, and stuff gets left out the CRM. And then when people are coming to follow up or try and get approval or something, or the customer says, "Hey, that's not what you quoted me last time," or "That was a different sheet that you used to the one I saw," that's where everything becomes, it just becomes disconnected, and there's no clear route to seeing how something came in to right the way through to signature. And I think the other thing is complex pricing processes that nobody understands. So
Mm-hmm.
take for example, if someone's selling quantities, one person will get a discount with, a quantity break, the other one won't. The other one, will get enormous discounts, and there's disparity across the customer base. So, and that can happen for the same customer between reps. So trying to bring some level of control and consistency across the board, I think is really needed.
It's a big deal. So, like you said,
Mhm.
you move out, start to lose deals. That quote took a week to get by, and by then they've already moved on. You get your slower sales cycles. I mean, everybody's not happy. All we're trying to do is live happily, right? Like, this is one of the biggest pebbles in the shoe that we've seen when sales reps are trying to come into HubSpot and do things kind of in a consistent, in a predictable, and an easy way, and enter in the technology that we've looked to create, all of us, to make this easier. The first piece of this fun webinar sandwich of technology is Quote Happily. Now, it is a native products, native lines, native quotes, everything native inside of HubSpot. Even to the building of the quote is inside of HubSpot. We've got a rules engine, so you could say if this, then that. If this customer is an enterprise customer and they have more than 4 active deals, then they get this 10% discount. To the moon. We got advanced approvals that are our own approval engine that's being able to branch based upon any type of deal scenario that you could think of. You can set one, many, round robin, first come, first serve, have the whole company and the whole block approve if need be, all within HubSpot. Our price books, again, making sure that the certain types of customer classes that you have, that the reps can only quote the correct price for those. We're selling the right thing for the right price, the right time. Customizable quote templates. So it's going to be modules that we create for native HubSpot quoting, but James is going to have something that's blew my mind away as far as what's possible with the link of Portent and inside of HubSpot. Calculated pricing is a big deal as well. We're talking about your height times width times length. If my onboarding is 20% of all service and software sales that I have, all of those calculations we allow at the line item on quote level so that you can easily not have to bust out that Excel spreadsheet. You can toss that to the curb, and your reps are going to be creating easy quotes. Add the item. It does the calculation for you. So no guessing, no messing around. And our product packages and bundles. So your true product configurator, which I'll give an example demo here of when you have a product like potentially different plans that have included items that have their own variables, as well as add-on items, and having that same rep experience. You guys have been on the internet before. You've seen the pricing tables. Have your rep being able to quote just like that. So your SaaS product is quoted the exact same way it's displayed on the site. That's a big deal. Let's jump into Portent.
Thanks, Dex. For our side, what we're trying to do is make it easy for you to create your custom quote design. Every company seems to have a different way that they want to present the information and have that designed. And what we enable you to do is design those quotes inside Google Slides or Google Docs. So it's a native document editor that everyone's familiar with. So you can even migrate your existing quote templates to Portent and get up and running really quickly. And then what we're able to do is pull out properties and place them inside HubSpot properties and place them inside the document. So we're able to customize each quote. This comes with built-in reviews, approvals, e-sign. We can even put in conditional content in there and terms and calculations if you want. There is we're very native to HubSpot as well. So we are one click. We have the new app cards, so you can just click a button in the deal record if you want and generate a quote, or use this as an action in the workflow. And I'll share a little bit more about that later on. And the other little thing here is that I know I've spoken a lot about Google Docs and slides here, but we are bringing, if you are a Microsoft shop, it is coming. It's coming soon, and we're really excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is what people really want to do. I mean, it allows you to, if you're stuck on the Google Doc, not a bad place to be stuck on, but if that's what if people use and they have multiple templates, this is such a seamless integration. Like I was, again, for my first time seeing it, I was like, oh, this is the thing you could really do. So Daryl.
Thanks, Dax. James, thanks for having me on. So Cogent was born in July of 2023. Prior to that, I was in a family business for nearly 10 years, and in multiple roles throughout the business, I got the experience of working with different departments, working with different systems, and being able to improve those systems at each stage. And for the last year that I was in the business was mainly focused on systems improvement, as opposed to a sales role or purchasing. And in July of 2023, I got the opportunity to start my own business and take that same workings that we'd worked out in the family business and take them to other people. So we started out with supporting a system called Auto-Wise, which is an ERP system. They're based out of Lincoln, recently been taken over by Fortero. And once we started to get to know the types of systems that people were working with Auto-Wise, then we started to integrate with those different systems, started to work with them, figure out what was working, what wasn't. And fast forward to July of 2024, when we decided to become HubSpot partners. And that's when the real fun started, because it opened up the door to this whole new world that whilst we'd used HubSpot in a previous life, we started to realize how much of a importance that HubSpot had in the business systems kind of space, and how it grew even in the 6 months to the end of the year. The amount of, there's nearly 400 updates to the platform alone of new improvements. That's not even talking about the app. So we realized that HubSpot was becoming much more of a thing. So we started to look at an integration with Auto-Wise, and that's really where we started to focus as a business. But what we found was the two issues with HubSpot. One was the ability to output documents, which wasn't a feature, and the ability to control in the quoting process, which many, if anyone has used HubSpot quoting, there's some fairly basic functionality there. Enter your line item price, enter your quantity, and job done, you've got a quote. But that doesn't work in the workplace where people need price books or controlled pricing or controlled discounts. So what I really wanted to go through tonight was two use cases. One was a client, and it's a recent implementation that we've done, and one is our own use case. So how we use it as a partner to HubSpot, but also, the fact it's services versus goods. So it's not that any one of these apps, Portent or Quite Happily, should be used for just a services company or just somebody who's selling goods. We want to show like how both can work. And I think, I suppose just jumping onto the first client, they're in the construction industry, or loosely termed construction industry. And I think the biggest issue that they had with moving to HubSpot was the fact that pricing just couldn't be controlled. Everything was being done in Excel spreadsheets. Reps would go out on a site visit, they come back in with their Excel spreadsheet with all their formulas and stuff, and they would just be expected to upload it to HubSpot. Now, we'd done a full migration from a previous CRM, which had order input, to HubSpot, which then became deals and pipelines, and that also became their full order process right from the initial inquiry. So during that process, we looked at 3 or 4 different quoting platforms, and none of them offered native functionality inside of HubSpot. And by native, I mean the ability to stay in HubSpot and be able to do that quoting process or control the prices that were added to orders. And then on the back of that, the ability to take a template that somebody had already mocked up in a Word document that maybe had been used by another system or maybe been used in Xero or something like that, and be able to take that same document and actually use that inside of HubSpot. So this particular client was able to make use of Quote Happily and Portent at the same time to help with that process. So if you can imagine, the process flow was to raise a quote for the customer inside of Quote Happily. You've got all your price books, you've got calculated pricing. So in particular, some of their items were done based on area, so length times width. And then you'd have other factors like your fixed costs and variable costs. So some would vary depending on the quantity, and some would be fixed for the full order. So to take that all into account and then get your pricing shoved out the end when your pricing also is hinged on a price book is quite a difficult task, but Quote Happily manages all of that in one piece. So taking the quoting process from being a disconnected one in an Excel or Google Sheet to then being able to do that inside of HubSpot, I think was a massive winner. The other aspect that really helped with was calculating the cost of carriage and being able to charge the customer for carriage. So typically businesses will lose between 30 to 90 pounds on every order that's shipped if they're not charging carriage, particularly in the goods and services, goods industry. So what this client was able to do was to say, well, if an order is over certain value, we can give it for free, but if it's under a certain value, we need to add a pro rata carriage cost. So with additional line items from Quote Happily, we can now add those into the quote automatically without them having to do it. And then from a Portent perspective, document output, this was where Portent offered additional leverage over the other solutions that are out there in the marketplace for quoting, because the other solutions will give you a quote and a template, but they don't allow you to use that template for other things later on in the process. And those other processes might be run off different objects. So not just the deal, maybe off a customer or a contact or another object inside of HubSpot. So here we were able to do quotes, the quote templates, we were able to do the order confirmations, we were able to do delivery notes. And the other important thing about delivery notes is that when we run the delivery note process, we can also select whether or not it was part ship and in full. So we set up workflows to say whether the order was going to be part shipped, so the deal record could be part shipped or not, and then it would either automatically create or sit in a holding area for somebody to then create that document and output it, and then those would get printed straight to the warehouse. So HubSpot then became effectively the front end of an ERP. Sorry, go on, James.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I didn't realize you were doing that part and full ship thing. That's awesome.
Just being able to select the line items was a winner.
Object. Awesome. Yeah, that like when you bring up the pad of got my quote, I've got my line items, got my quote. My quote was made with the Google Doc. So when you get on the quoting and you're able to use the deal and then the contact as well, then maybe a custom object that has this information and the automations to trigger all of those just to happen. Like that's crazy, man. Let me hear about this the services industry one.
So yeah, services. We obviously don't ship any physical products, so we have to we charge by seat or by month or by year, depending on what the contract is. So that was a slightly different one. I'll share my screen shortly if you don't mind, just to show some stuff. But we were able to use Portent to run quote templates, just like I discussed, NDAs. So when we're bringing on a vendor, so completely separate from customers. So we're bringing on a vendor, we need them to sign an NDA. We can run that template and just shoot it off to them. We also use it for HubSpot implementation. So where we've got a template doc and we need to send it to the client to get them to sign it off, we will add that into the deal process. So when it gets to a certain stage, we need to trigger that document to get sent to them for sign off. The same for scope of works. Often now we're finding that clients won't proceed without a scope of works, and it's a good place to be in because it actually holds both of you accountable. But the time that's spent trying to draft that scope of works in a separate document, when most of your information is sat inside HubSpot with all your deal notes, you can now bring that all into one. The other thing we found value in is in one pages. So clients are often asking, hey, can you send us a one pager on your business and what you do? Great. Yeah, I can shoot that to you just now. So now that just comes straight out of HubSpot, it's pre-populated with the contact's name, the company, the date and time, and it looks like it's a personalized document you've just done for them. So that's really, really cool. But with Quote Happily for us, the benefit has been in allowing me as the founder to step back and let the rest of the team do the quoting and give them the confidence that they can quote what they need to. So whereas before most of it was on my shoulders or on my head to try and figure out, what to price people on, it's now inside of HubSpot. We've now got price books in place. All the customers and contacts have properties that then influence what happens inside of Quote Happily. And the reps have a choice. They can either output the quotes to Portent or they can output them on a standard web page from HubSpot. So the flexibility is there. Some people like both options. So, there's different reasons why one might do it as a PDF versus as a web page, particularly if in that particular industry, sometimes the client won't have web access, which is sometimes overlooked slightly. So the client won't have web access because they may be in a controlled environment and their emails come ported in. So having a PDF is actually a benefit for that.
Hey Daryl,
Awesome.
I just seen a question come in on the chat, which I actually wanted to know as well. With your scope of works documents, do you hold them in like a Google Doc format so you can collaborate with the customer on what is included and not included, and then like export it to PDF to kind of take a snapshot of what that was, or how do you manage that process?
Great point. Yeah, we do a bit of both actually. So where the scope of works is can be predetermined because it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward, we'll go ahead and produce it, put it into a PDF, and it will just output straight away. In other instances, we'll have situations where we can send them that Google Docs link that you're creating as part of the Portent workflow, and we can send that to them. They can collaborate on that, and then once we're ready, we can rerun that workflow, and it just outputs the PDF, and we can send it off to them.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I would say that's 90% of the time we'll probably do it as a standard PDF, but there can be a bit of work that goes in beforehand, so it's worth sharing the document.
Then I think we had a question on the MS Word, so that's going to be the big one coming out, James.
Yeah, next month it will, sir. It's coming.
So
Microsoft's APIs aren't quite as friendly as Google's ones, but it's coming.
One of the things to note as well, James, is that you can send the MS Word document into HubSpot as well. That works quite well.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So we can export to the Word document. Mm-hmm. And it sits in your attachments in the deal record for that. Perfect.
Yeah, it's an attached file.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Daryl, you kind of let the cat out of the bag. You're going to show us a little something. I'll let you. I cook off this screen share so you could share your screen and touch a little bit on your process.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, happy to do that. Let me just share this probably a bit of. So what I did was I went ahead and I had added UDAX as a contact and added a deal straight away. So this already has some quote information on it, but I'm just going to create a new one. So we'll create a new quote inside of HubSpot using Quote Happily.
AKA Quote Happily.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing I like about this is that you have everything input anyway. So we don't have to worry about re-adding, going to another system, having to add all the templated stuff that we need. It's pretty much all determined anyway. So we have in here, we've obviously got a couple of lines. Let's just remove these just now and we'll re-add them. Okay, so we've got some of our layouts here. So if we wanted to do it as a web page, we can choose that. So we'll go with the modern one. We can change the quote name. We can set the expiry date. We can set the domain that we want to do it from. Some of these are preset. We can also add the details. So we can add in some custom. We want to put some payment terms on there. So we can add in payment types. We can use e-signature. So I'm going to get Dax to sign it. And then we've got some payment terms. Now you can have payment terms and comments come through automatically. But if those aren't set up, you can choose them. We have some standard ones. So I'm going to drop them in there, save that. So that's now all updated. And the thing I'd like as well about this is at any point I can preview the quote in its current form. So this basically loads inside of Quote Happily. This kind of gives me what my quote template looks like. And you wouldn't know that it's not built out of HubSpot straight away. So if we go back to here, okay, I'm going to select a line item. Oh, sorry, I skipped a point there because you've got the price book. So we know this customer is a HubSpot customer. It's already selected using the quote rules to say, I've signed this price book. I'm going to come in straight into here and I'm going to add the AutoWise Sync app. So I'm going to throw this one on. Okay, so that's now added. It's then going to wait for a moment. It's going to automatically check and add the onboarding because I've got that as a mandatory item. So anywhere that OW Sync is specified, it's now going to add the onboarding in case I forget to add it. So we don't have to let the reps sort of try and think, do I need to add onboarding or not? We're going to tell them when it's necessary. And then what's going to happen is it's going to show the subtotal, which includes the first and the second line, but one's on a repeat. So this top one is every month, basically. So we can put in here 12 months. Billing start date is at payment and billing frequency is monthly. And then you'll see down here, just like in HubSpot, you've got the option to add in discounts, taxes, or fees. I'm sure Dax will show later. You can automate that as well. And once we're ready, we just hit publish quote. Give it a couple of seconds.
I just love how it looks like HubSpot, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like, where does Quote Happily start and HubSpot end? You know?
The lines are blurred
Yeah,
So
totally.
intentionally.
So now I've launched that page. That's literally just, it's got everything that I need on it, and I've hardly had to think about what I'm adding to that quote. And then the nice thing from here is that my quote will my deal will update. So if I just do this, it'll have updated with the line item values. So you'll see the values just change from 12,000 to 9,188. I've got the latest line items from that quote. And now all I want to do is say, right, actually, I want to generate a quote with important to actually do it as a different format. So I'm just going to run this, important. So it's going to load everything, including all objects that I can associate, that I have associated with this deal. So we've got the line items up the top. I could deselect which ones I don't want to appear, or I can leave them all. So I've got the contact, got the company, I've got meetings. I could, if I was listing any information relating to that, I could have them in there. And then I start the automation and then give it a few seconds to pop through, and then this will have loaded to the deal.
Yeah, with that other object thing, Daryl, the thing which we see people using that for is like if your quoting line items is disconnected to your actual deliverables. Sometimes people combine those on the same quote. So you say these are actually the costed items, and then underneath that is a separate table with these are all the actual things that you'll get from it, and those are two, like the deliverables is a separate custom object, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So now we've got this document open, so the PDF is here. You'll see here that it's taken in the product line name and then also the description that we have inside of HubSpot. So we formatted this to appear in a certain way. We've got the unit price, discount, the quantity, the terms, the net price for the full length of the contract, and then the single line items where there's no monthly amount. And you'll see all of our payment terms have appeared down the bottom, and then we've got the signatures, and I could fire this straight off to Dax to get done. And if I just a quick look, yeah, this one here. So I've now got this document, so I can load that PDF that's just been produced. And there you go. And I also have the link as well to the actual Word doc. So if I wanted to now make some changes and say, actually, do you know what? I'm going to add in a little note here about some additional payment terms, and then I'm going to send it off. I can do that straight away. So all of that kind of shows you the way that we can merge quoting with Quote Happily all the way to Portent. And there's obviously different things we can do. So I've got a couple of other different outputs. I've got, for example, the Cogent one pager, which I can run as well. So this is when like Dax, if you came to us and said, look, hey, can you just give me a 1-page about your information? You'll see here, look, it's prepared for Dax Miller at Happily, prepared by the deal owner on set date and time. And then that just gives a list of our services and what we're ready to do. And then the option for them to get a pricing estimate from our pricing page.
That's awesome.
Man, that is what's up. Like I love like how seamless everything was, and you had like so many different options of different. I want to send an invoice. I want to send a quote. I want to send a confirmation. I want to say a shipment confirmation. You can kind of have all of this stuff. Like you're getting real Klaviyo with it here with your email. It's like email template automation, but with document driven. Like that's super nice. Like I appreciate that. So I wanted to shout out the people in the chat, make sure that we answer their questions. You know, Brianna, again, you can have, if you want to automatically have a quote that just always has line items in there. I know Daryl showed that a little bit. You can have any type of rule, which I'm going to illustrate shortly, to add line items automatically. So no matter, even depending on where the deal is in the stages, where the deal is in the particular stage, you get to kind of say, hey, I want to add these line items. I want to make sure that this is always there. Not only can you automatically add them, you can set rules to block the publishing of a quote if there's something not there that's supposed to be. So you have full flexibility. So just like Daryl said, I can kind of step back and not have to babysit, handhold throughout the quoting process, regardless of how complex your process is. And then Scott, go ahead, Daryl. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that someone was saying on there, I think it was Lisa was saying about doing a quote without a total. The beauty is that your quote templates can be modeled to exactly how you want. Like you can remove the totals. You can just have individual lines as options. Like, you know, if a client's making a choice, you don't want to show an option on it. The nice thing is that what you say goes. I mean, it's really that simple. Like if you want something without it, fine, create your template, and it's cool.
Yeah, and then Scott had a couple questions. So building rules to enforce policies. So if you have like a company that is a parent company with a child reference, you can easily roll up or create like a roll-up field onto that parent company that has the number of children it has. And then based upon that property, you can create any type of rule. So Quote Happily looks at anything associated to the deal. So whether it be contact, the company, a custom object, whoever's creating the quote, whoever is on the team, today's date. So you could say this stuff is break these rules between March 1st and April 5th. All that is how I'll show a little bit of rules, but you can kind of prevent anything that's going on or enforce anything that you need based upon the companies associated. So again, if all the children companies have their own line items, if you have those specific properties or maybe a drop down of all particular properties on a product, I feel like it would be one of those situations where, hey, I'm Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola West's line items are like this. Coca-Cola East have these, and you kind of tag them as such. So you can set rules around how to tag those based upon something on the deal, or you can, again, block if they aren't tagged correctly based upon previous quotes. So you have a lot of flexibility to either enforce or automate so that you don't have to do a lot of those things there. Sarah's got a question on the portal. So dynamic SOW content based upon the line items. So it's not something that would be in there. So I'll jump in. There are some, if you're looking to natively quote out of HubSpot, Quote Happily installs different quote modules that will do this dynamic content based upon the presence of a specific line item. For example, if there's a line item that needs to be shipped, where like the property is shippable, then you could show a chunk of text. For example, this will ship in 4 to 6 days, and here's our shipping policy, our insurance, etc. And then, James, I'm sure you have like a stronger answer for that one with all you could do.
Well, yeah, we also have conditional rules. You can have if statements in the document itself. So we could display this as like, if it exists on the line item object, we can have a separate table in the document which shows that, or you can control that with a rule-based. So if shipping is included, make sure like to include this term that we're not liable for any damages after it's off the pallet. I don't know what it would be, but something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So in short, you got a lot of flexibility on how you want to operate, how you want to outdate it. It's just that you're not going to get this out of the box HubSpot, and that's why we're here. So,
and the other point on that, just quickly, I think James, you mentioned it the other day, rich text properties in HubSpot.
Yeah. You can include rich text properties and they're properly formatted in the document.
Yeah, so to Sarah's
Is that
point,
what you said?
technically,
Sorry.
if you have a statement of like a scope of works, you could have some areas inside of the deal or whatever object you're using for that and fill them out with rich text. Maybe they're automatically there when the deal's created, and then you just show them on the layout if a line item is added or true or whatever.
Flexibility to the max. So it's huge. What I'll show now is just a touch of the back end of Quote Happily. And then James, I'll dish it to you to show kind of how some of the setup with Porton. So I'll keep mine quick because I'll be here for an hour to an hour and a half. Fundamentally, we start with quote rules. So rules are the baseline of enforcing and setting those guidance and guardrails. One of the things that I'll do real quick is I was going to do a little Nintendo example product that we're going to build a bundle on. But one of the things I don't want my reps to do is to forget to add the warranty if there's a specific item. So we're going to say add NES warranty. I apologize if my keyboard is jet engine loud, just in case. We'll move you guys out of the way. So how we want to do this, what we want to do is we want to look at the line item. We want to make sure that if this line item where the name, we'll say it contains NES, so any type of NES scenario where that is there, and so we'll click there, do it, and we're going to look for a different line item. Is the name is, I believe I did NES warranty, so let's check that out. NES warranty, and if that's absent, I'm going to select an outcome. Now every rule has an outcome, so this outcome I would like to do is to block the rep and give them a message saying, don't forget the warranty. Now, you can do lots of things with Quote Happily rules. We can just notify them, aka just send them a message. We can require approval. So trigger off your approval based upon certain deal scenarios or whom is creating the deal. Setting the quote template, the quote language, literally like English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, set the actual language of the quote, set the template, tons of things. I mean, the list goes on. Automatically adding discounts, automatically adding fees, automatically adding taxes, adding line items as well. It's just everything. We want to reduce clicks wherever possible. And a lot of the things that you saw that Daryl was creating in that single page builder, we don't have the Stairway to Heaven quote builder from HubSpot. We have just one page where everything is. You can automate pretty much everything so that a rep doesn't have to make all these decisions of what template to use. Oh, what are the terms I'm going to add to this? Oh, all of that can be completely automated. Build it once, set it and forget it. One of my favorite outcomes before I get to the block rule is updating line items. So let's say, for example, I have this in NES, we'll just say it's the NES console, right, that we're going to be doing in our bundle. And let's say that if I do add this and I forget the warranty, I want to update the line item so I can then look at the line item, figure out which line item I want to update. Like, for example, I want to update every service line item where the name equals service or where any property equals something. I then can change another property on that line item. This is amazing for explicitly adding discounts, explicitly changing the bronze finish to platinum if they bought everything else as platinum. Your mind can go crazy on the possibilities of when you have these rules. But for this example, same scenario, we're just going to say, we're going to block this person and send in a message that just says, don't forget the warranty and choose violence by adding a bunch of these. So we can see that. So I'll turn that on, save that. I'll probably just make sure it just says this. I believe we'll do that. So basically anything NES, we'll save that and see how that works out. Now, we've got lots of different rules. Let's talk a little bit about price books, calculated pricing. I got a lot to go over. So price books, exactly what you would imagine. I only want some certain people to sell certain things under certain conditions. When you create a price book, aka the Cool Kids price book, these are the properties and these are the products that can be seen. Only these products can be seen. So if if you have like a catalog of 90,000 products, and in this particular deal scenario, maybe the company is a construction and enterprise, you only want these products available, price books is where it's at. You can not only set and change and override things by currency, you can override by percent increases or decrease at a book level. And of course, you can dig into the product itself, increase it by a specific amount. You can set volume pricing where the first unit is this, up to the fifth unit is this many per unit, and on and on and on. You have all the flexibility to do each of these product price changes without having to hack your way and have new SKUs to work around the limit of setting and changing the prices. You're going to be able to report on the same SKU and all of its different prices all in one product. So really awesome thing we can do there. With calculated pricing, if you've seen a calculated property inside of HubSpot, then this should look very familiar to you. You can set a calculation of what to set the unit price for a given item. And this one I have a little complicated formula about setting up different consoles, and they each have their own fee. And we roll up, which is another thing that we do, which allows you to roll up any property on all of the line items. So in this one, I'm rolling up the quantity of Sega Genesis that I have and multiplying that times the setup fee for each one, and then doing the same for the other consoles. So easy. Another use case is easily saying, hey, my onboarding fee is 20% of everything I've sold with a service. You create that rule, or you create that roll up that adds everything up and add it into a calculated price. I'll jump on a roll up just to show kind of this scenario real quick. Again, I'm looking at the sum, you can do the count, the min, the max, the average of these unit prices. And then I want to only do it where it's a service item. That gives us a variable that we can use in a roll up. Phew, tons of flexibility. We're trying to make it overpowered inside of your quoting, because who are we battling? We're battling that Excel spreadsheet that everybody's using and trying to make these crazy calculations with. The last thing I'll show, and oh man, it's just we're trying to fight. We're trying to slap fight. We're just being real nice with it with Excel. But that is the enemy, and that's a shout out to anybody that has a software company. Your enemy is not your competition. Your enemy is a spreadsheet or a piece of paper and a pen. That is what you're going against, because everyone can easily go back to that and be like, "Oh, we're fine. This is all good."
We can knock off a spreadsheet in 5 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just on fire. It's fine. So one of the things that we're able to do on the bundle piece is configure a product and configure how a rep can sell that product. It's just like if you've ever built a computer online or ordered a pizza online. It is exactly what we're doing here. So I've got my Nintendo Entertainment System. I've got what's included, meaning every time I sell this, these are the options that are included. I've got the console. What can I do? Well, I can actually take this console and I can either have the default base system, or for $100 more, I can have the black on black. So the rep can choose to add one or the other, and it will update the price of that bundle. You also can set guidance and guardrails on how many they can add, or the default quantity of each of these included options. So I did the included options of the console. You can pick your standard controllers, or you can get the NES Advantage controllers, or you have your optional accessories as well. Now, these are not included by default, but a sales rep can then add that if they'd like. These are like your power pad, your multi-tap, which connects a bunch of controllers, and you can add those on, and again, set guidance and guardrails of how much they can add on. I mean, bring the analogy to pizza, like you can add double meat, but you can't add triple meat or quadruple meat. You can have the stuffed crust, you can have no cheese, you can have all veggies, you can do all of this. And again, your rep isn't trying to figure out what goes with what. You as an admin has established what the bundle can contain and how much it can contain. TLDR, you see there's a lot of different tools, a lot of different pieces, a lot of different mechanical pieces that you could throw together to make your quoting work. And what it looks like output, I'm going to throw it to James.
No, that looks fantastic. I love it. I didn't know about I love the way that you can preview how your roll-up formula is going to work. That's such a nice usability little touch you got.
Stole it from HubSpot.
Cool.
Yeah. It's just like the HubSpot count. Nolan.
So I was going to jump into to how this works in Portent. Now, what we can do in Portent is that we're native as well, just like Happily is to the HubSpot ecosystem. We can run one of these document generation workflows as an action within the HubSpot workflow. So say Dax and Happily have generated an amazing quote. Your deal has then moved to the generate quote stage. We could then run this quote Happily document that I'm going to share with you now. So this all would work behind the scenes. I know that Daryl showed you how we use app cards, but you can also have it automated. So the quote is just on the record or is automatically shared based on a bunch of rules. So you can see how we work. We have a really simple workflow here, which is from a source. in HubSpot called deals, and then we're creating this quote document. So as you can see, it has the Google Doc template inside Portent. So you have all the formatting tools available in Google Docs. And this is a linked file which can live in a shared location. So you can collaborate on how your quotes look. Maybe your marketing team have a specific way they want the logo to look in this quote. They can control that, where your sales operations team can make sure that the quote contains all the information that you need. So you can collaborate in this area. We can, it's Google Docs, so we can change anything just like you can in Google Docs. And then all these fields, I'm just going to delete one so I'll show you how to put it in. We can insert properties from HubSpot. So this is a list of all the properties we have selected, and we just click copy, put a cursor in the document, and paste it in. Now, you're not limited to a few properties or just a select a selection that a company's made on your behalf. You can actually choose anything within your HubSpot instance. So anything which is an included standard object. I haven't got custom objects on this portal, but you could choose any custom object or any of the object library. So you can also have line items, calls, like it goes deep. Essentially, if you have some kind of custom situation, I'm pretty sure we can cope with it. So this is how that works. We can add e-signatures on that. Daryl showed a little bit about how that looked, but that's all native and built into Portent. And when you run it, I've run this a few times, and Daryl's also shown you how it's run. So I'll just show you the other bit after that document has been generated. We just click this generate documents button, or if we're using the HubSpot workflow, it would already be here. But we save a whole bunch of different values onto the deal. So we saved the status, some document links within the HubSpot custom property group that Portent has added to each object. And why that's great is that, say, if you had another workflow which was downstream, or another process which was downstream, you can actually run a HubSpot workflow based on what Portent is doing. So it can have a lookout for this document status is complete, and the workflow that's been run is the quote workflow, and it can say, okay, let's move this deal to the next stage, or notify somebody that this deal is has the quote that's ready to be shared with the client, if you like to do that kind of call to go over the quote before you share it over email. And yeah,
and just on that, James,
I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but yeah.
James,
Daryl.
can you, I take it would be possible here, just thinking this through, we could then use that in a template. So if we're generating an email to the client and we have a template with a property filled in that template, we can actually then just add our template to an email and shoot the link off to the client.
That's correct. Yeah. And even more so with that template, you could build a workflow within HubSpot, which is automatically reminding that user at a set cadence that they still have a quote. And the exit rules for that workflow is that the quote is signed and it's been agreed. So you can do a lot with that and build your kind of rules engine inside, or not rules engine, reminder engine inside HubSpot, which is nice. I always think it's good to have all this stuff centralized in one.
Can you pull quote template variables into the document? So variables are properties on the quote template object.
Yes. Yeah, we actually just added that. So you can have two quotes running in parallel. So if we scroll down here, I haven't got it added at the moment, but you could have quotes in here, and then you could have the quote number that is related to inside HubSpot. So you could use their quote number.
Yeah, because that's
the most common one.
Yeah, one of the things that we have is when you're using a roll-up property. So I guess in Scott's example, if you had a roll-up of how many line items are per child company, or the sum of child companies' products, right? you can have that because we put those in variables that are on the quote.
Okay.
We dynamically create a quote property, I would say, not a variable. We dynamically create a quote property. And you could display that, even just like estimated shipping cost, which is a calculation roll up of or estimated shipping weight. Just anything that you roll up of all the lines of that quote, you could display. I always wanted to display like your number of you've saved this much money, or number of shippable items in your order, which is this particular variable that we roll up. And that's just dynamic every single quote that goes out. So that's awesome that you can pull quote properties as well.
The other cool thing about that is, like, I don't know how many people face this, but I always come across it, is that HubSpot doesn't give you the total discount for the deal. It gives you a line item calculated total discount, but not one which is total. So instead of having to create another calculated property within your HubSpot portal, we can add a formula. Here, we've got an example of it. This is the sum formula. And so we're summing the line item calculated total discount. And that can be for any property. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always surprised. And almost when I'm saying that doesn't exist, I'm always like, has HubSpot released it? Is it there yet? But yeah.
Watch out, next week they'll have it.
That's right. Yeah, that'd be great if they added it.
Case, but one of the things, and I think this is cool, we can wrap it up for some Q&A and understanding, is that what we as app partners, right, and solutions partners are doing, and we're trying to solve for the client. We're trying to make sure that this investment that they've made in software solves what they need to solve. No one in the right mind believes, and I say in the right mind, believes that it's going to do every single thing for your business. It's not possible. Your business is unique as you, as unique as your fingerprint or the snowflakes that aren't falling right now. When we build for these gaps, sure, HubSpot may get there, but that nuance of just one of those things that you saw, their job is not to do that. Their job is to solve and build a platform. And what we're doing is trying to extend that platform and give it more flexibility to take, the parent child with ultimate 15 children, or having the people that need to do a quote to a contract to this, that, and the third, which is, Scott's question that I'll let you answer, Daryl. But when we come together as app partners into this ecosystem, we build these solutions that are cohesive, that really stick together, that work perfectly in one kind of full motion, like quote happily important. Like, I would use that because it's going to give me the easiest flexibility to maintain a document or multiple sets of documents within Google Docs, where most people are already living, or upcoming, the Microsoft suite. It has everything that I'm going to be able to easily maintain and manage, especially when I have multiple documents. Thinking of like real estate, where you got this, you got that, you got the third. You can always trigger all of that. And moving from quote to contract to bring that in, you have all of the triggers and automations of HubSpot at your side. The platform does what it does best, which is kind of move the ship along. And we're just doing all those extra anchors that get you stopped, get you ready, get you going, and have everything that you need with that flexibility of the company. So, Daryl, I do want to grab that question since I did shout it out for Q&A. But how do you move from quote to contract in your experience in implementing this?
That's a really good point. I think the way we looked at it was, initially we identified the problem that it was taking too long when the client signed off on our side to move it forward. But actually inside of HubSpot, when somebody signs a document, you can check for the number of signatures on a document. This is just looking at the HubSpot template. The number of signatures received on a template, if it's greater than the total number of signatures required, then you can move it to the next stage or to closed one, which we do as an automated process with a workflow. The other aspect is, if you are moving from quote to contract with Portent, as James showed earlier, you can take the status of that. I think, do you have a property?
We would do the same thing. Yeah, it's called partially signed, where it's incomplete, and then signed when it's fully complete.
Yeah. So you could then just take that property and hinge the workflow off that to say, once this property changes value to completed or whatever that is find, then move it to the next stage. Once it gets to the next stage, you can actually have your Portent template for a contract with all the pre-filled deal properties, et cetera, and have that automatically get sent out. That's kind of utopia. The client may or may not need to sign that, depending on what your process is. But again, the same process applied. Once that's signed, you could then have an email saying, thanks, you've now signed up. And that whole, what we found is it actually shortened the sales cycle to closed one by literally hours and got it down to minutes. So as soon as somebody signs, they've got their onboarding workflow through another app in the app partner system as well. So it's just like your time to value, especially if you invoice before you start work as well for services businesses, it's massive because you can automate that invoice to go out to the client. They can pay on the nail. It's huge.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, Dax, can I try and summarize this Brianna question?
Summarize it.
Yeah. So how I look at it is that Quote Happily controls how all the data goes into HubSpot, how your reps are able to package and price all your products. HubSpot serves as the record of central source of truth. And then Portent is extracting that central source of truth and displaying it in the way that you want, that your client wants to see it. And Cogent, they're the people who have implemented it and have the real use cases. Yeah. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
It's a big deal. I mean, we appreciate everyone for jumping on. You know where to find us. We're on the internet. We're on LinkedIn. We're talking about this because this is our life. But we just want to make sure that everyone can quote happily. They get, I'm trying to do my best. Everybody can quote happily. They can find and make documents of what's important and be cogent, that made it work, in how they extend and provide service for everyone around us. So it's been a good one, y'all. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming out to this webinar.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, Dax. Thanks, Daryl.
Here's the game.
Appreciate it.